Howdy funky people, I'm Carfunkle, the mythical Carbuncle. I'm a mythological creature that makes videos about mythology and plays mythology-based games. So I was very excited to find out that Fortnite added a season dedicated to everyone's favorite pantheon, the Greek one. So let's talk about the skins. Since I'm a small channel, you might be new here. I'm not going to ask you to like or sub or anything like that, just watch the video, give me a chance to earn it. If you're curious about something, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer in the comments. First up is the first skin, Cerberus. Unlike the majority of the skins I'll be talking about, this skin isn't based on a god, but instead it is based on the pet of a god. Cerberus is a three-headed dog that protects the entrance to Hades, the underworld. It's Cerberus' job to make sure that only the dead pass through Hades and that they don't leave. Hades, you might have heard of before, they're also from Fortnite. Kidding, they're a skin, but Hades is both a person and a place in Greek mythology. Hades was the lord of the underworld that was also called Hades. This happens a lot in Greek mythology. Some gods are named after their domains, but even more are simultaneously both the god representing the domain and physically that same domain. Hades as a god we'll get into when we get to his skin, but Cerberus was the son of Echidna and Typhon, Greek gods who were also monsters and gave birth to the majority of the monsters in Greek myth, like Cerberus and his brother Orthrus. Cerberus is mentioned a lot in mythology, starting in Hesiod's Theogony, or Origin of the Gods. Theogony is what is called an epic poem. It's a story arranged in the format of a poem in the weird paragraphs, those short paragraphs called stanzas. In Theogony, Hesiod details the origins of many gods and monsters and is one of the main sources used for people who study this stuff. But Cerberus' only real myth is in his role in Heracles' 12 trials. You might know Heracles as Hercules. In the 12 trials of Hercules, the capture of Cerberus is the final trial. Heracles needed to capture Cerberus for King Eurystheus. Eurystheus was kind of a butthole though, because all of these trials were chosen because he thought they were impossible, but Heracles smashed through them all. But this final one was supposed to be truly impossible. So Heracles chatted out, strolled into the underworld, and asked Hades, the god, for Cerberus. Hades said, "You can borrow Cerberus, but only if you can capture him without use of shield or iron." Hades, of course, just didn't want his dog to be hurt by Heracles, because at this point Heracles had developed quite a reputation. So Heracles choked out Cerberus using a lion skin. From there, Heracles carried Cerberus around and paraded his unconscious body throughout Greece before showing him to King Eurystheus, completing his 12th and final trial. He still returned Cerberus to Hades after the fact, because, you know, he kept good on his word. Now, for my opinion on the skin. I think they did a good job. They couldn't give the skin actually 3 heads, because that would mess with the hitbox, and it is a competitive game. Instead, they made it part of his outfit. The use of pale green glow and flames are great, and did a great job of capturing that whole underworld vibes. They do a great job throughout this in the latest Fortnite update, where there's just tons of, like, ancient Greek buildings and stuff like that, and there's also that part of the map that's based off the river Styx, and it all has this same vibe that Cerberus does, so it's very thematic. The chains are a nice touch too. I also really like the texture of his outfit, giving him a very modernized techie look to fit with the Fortnite universe, but I think they should have made him much more muscular like Meowscles, or the Poseidon skin, which we'll get to later. Cerberus was yoked. The gold skin does a good job of capturing the ethereal underworld vibes, but I'm not a fan of the gold. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and one of the most manipulative and vindictive goddesses on Mount Olympus. There aren't many kid-friendly stories that I can tell you about Aphrodite. If you watched Disney's Hercules or learned about the gods in school, they might have given you the impression that the gods were good people. They are not. There probably isn't even a single god that isn't guilty of harming someone. But I'll tell the story of Aphrodite's birth, as well as her short story of cheating on her husband with Ares. But there's a lot of stories that I just can't tell. Anyway, Aphrodite was born from the sea as the result of the Titan Uranus being slain. His blood poured into the sea, creating sea foam and giving birth to Aphrodite. She appeared on the beach in a clamshell where she was noticed by the gods. They brought her up and initiated her as one of the Olympians, the gods who live on Mount Olympus, like Zeus. After the party, she was given off to one of the male gods as a wife. Poseidon insisted that she should be his wife, because she came from the sea, and his domain is the sea, thus he owns her. But she chose Hephaestus, the god of the forge, instead. Despite him being ugly and covered in ash, she recognized him for the hard-working, honest man he was. Later, she cheated on him with Ares, the god of war. Hephaestus caught her, wrapped her up in a net, and brought them before Zeus and demanded a refund. For her first skin, I think they were a little lazy on the design, but they really make up for it with the immortal Aphrodite skin. There's a great use of pinks, reds, and hearts, which I think most would associate with the goddess of love. Although the pink skin against the yellow highlights really hurts my eyes. I think for the base skin, they maybe should have gone with some more like traditionally ancient Greek clothing, maybe some lighter fabrics and maybe some clamshells and stuff like that instead of the modern look, because there's a lot of modern looks in this season. It would have been really interesting to have one character that looked more authentic to the time. So I think they should have added clamshells into the original skin, the basic skin's design. Poseidon. Poseidon is one of the 3 main sons of Cronus the Titan who Zeus slayed. More on that in Zeus' section. When Cronus was slain, the world was divided into the domains of sky, sea, and the underworld. Zeus got the sky, Poseidon the sea, Hades the underworld, and then they shared the earth equally. For Poseidon's story, most didn't know that Poseidon was bisexual. He had a wife called Amphitrite, the goddess of the sea, but he was also in love with Neretes, a minor sea god. The story behind this was that Poseidon fell in love with Neretes and gave him a job as his charioteer. Neretes was so good and fast as a charioteer that it made Helios the sun god jealous. Helios' whole shtick was that he would get up every morning and drive his chariot across the sky, and because of that he believed that he was the best charioteer. So he was very jealous of Neretes, and in jealousy turned Neretes into a shellfish, which became the origin word for the shellfish Nereids, which are like snails. But like most gods, Poseidon wasn't a good guy and had a long list of victims of his own. Now for the skin, well, they got the muscles right and the fit right. I do like the slimy fella though, he's silly looking. As for the immortal version, I don't really care for it. It's just a recolor. Kinda slacking though. They could have given him some particle effects or something, maybe added some water effects in. Medusa. Not a god, but instead the queen of the Gorgons. Gorgons were half snakes, half women, who could turn people they look at into stone. Originally depicted as monsters, people eventually began portraying Medusa as beautiful and terrifying. She has a story in mythology, but it's pretty short. The hero Perseus was sent to defeat her and used a mirrored shield gifted to him by the goddess of wisdom Athena. Using the shield, he tricked Medusa into turning herself into stone. I think the skin is a great fit. Much like the Cerberus design, they modernized her while also staying true to her lore, dressing her in iridescent snake scales with a fabric top common of ancient Greek women at the time. I would have liked to see more of this ancient Greek stuff in Aphrodite's design. Medusa is of course pretty, and they made her pretty, and gave her a head full of snake hair. Her second skin, Gorgon Warrior, goes less on the dressy side and leans more into a futuristic combat-ready skin suit, but they kept the snake skin in the design. Not a 10 for me, but definitely up there, and as soon as I earn it, it's gonna get added into my random skin rotation for sure. Zeus, king of the gods, the ruler of Mount Olympus, and the slayer of the Titan Cronus. Zeus is incredibly important because he rang in the Age of the Gods. Zeus's father Cronus had many gods as children, and the Fates told him that one day he would be defeated by a child of his. Foolishly, he tried to avoid this fate by consuming his children. When it came time for Zeus to be consumed, Cronus' sister and wife, this is ancient Greek, they did this a lot, sister wives, swapped out baby Zeus for a baby-shaped rock. Cronus didn't really take the time to check and instead just popped it in his mouth like a Tic Tac and swallowed. Zeus was then raised by another mother, and when he came of age, he beat the snot out of Cronus and made him puke up his siblings. Together they punished the Titans by locking them in the great prison underneath the underworld known as Tartarus. So yeah, he's kind of a big deal. Zeus is also just as famous for cheating on his wife and having a lot of wives. He's relentless when it comes to women to a fault, and like Poseidon has a long list of victims, but you probably know Zeus already, and you're thinking of an old man with a big white beard and a toga who wields lightning bolts, and that's exactly how he's portrayed in Fortnite, except he ditched his toga for golden armor. Not much to say about his outfit or his conqueror skin. It's about what you'd expect. Lots of gold, muscular, lightning bolts all over, and a lightning effect. They weren't adventurous, they just met expectations. Artemis. Goddess of the hunt and twin sister of her brother Apollo. Artemis is like many Olympians and quick to punish others for perceived slights. People didn't donate her enough boar skins once, so she released a huge, monstrous boar as punishment called the Caledonian Boar. She's also the goddess of virginity and has a couple of stories of punishing people who question her purity. Technically, she's a forever virgin though because of a wish she made with her father Zeus to be one forever. She's mostly known by people though as a hunter. Her skin in Fortnite is amazing, and a lot more in line with what I was expecting from Fortnite. They took some liberties with her design, and it paid off big with one of the most unique looking skins out there. I absolutely love the cosmic effects she has all over, but I'm not as big of a fan of the Immortal version because it looks too fiery, and I think that kind of pushes her outside of her domain. It's not one of my favorite skins, but I can see myself adding it to my random list. The last skin is Hades. As I mentioned, Hades is the god of the underworld that is also called Hades. The story he's most known for is the kidnapping of his wife Persephone. He took her against his will and forced her to live with him, the whole time trying to make her love him. In the end, he tricks her into eating one of the fruits of the underworld, and the law is, those who eat of the underworld are bound there. Now Persephone continues to live with Hades, only leaving the underworld in spring to help her mother Demeter with giving bloom to the flowers. Some people like to say Hades is a good guy, and while his list of victims isn't nearly as long as Zeus, I don't think I have to tell you that good guys don't kidnap women. His design in Fortnite is about what you'd expect. A long cloak, necromancer kind of look with a gas mask. It's creepy and captures the vibes, but would have benefited from some green smoke like his dog, which thankfully, his immortal skin has plenty of green smoke and it's really dang cool. So it's a look befitting a god of the underworld. I did lie, however, there is one more skin. It's called Ares, based on the god of war. He was also Aphrodite's lover. I totally missed this skin before because I thought it was just a regular Greek armor kind of thing. Just, you know, Spartan armor kind of thing, inspired kind of thing. But I clicked on it and found out that it was called Ares, and I was like, oh wow, that's kind of disappointing. Okay. The skin is really basic, but it has a bit of a modern twist. It looks more like a modern Spartan would, which is fitting considering he's the patron deity of Sparta, but I was expecting him to look a little more unique. The outfit has a warrior's helmet with flames shooting out, and the armor is like a modern bulletproof vest, but it's sculpted to look like abs like Batman's bulletproof vest. The rest of his armor is a skin-tight suit, decent, but again, incredibly basic, and it's kind of funny that they charge $12 for it because it's a very basic skin. One last mention though is the Wings of Icarus, an item in Fortnite right now. These wings are a new movement mechanic that allow you to take flight and dive bomb people. In mythology, these wings were made of wax by Icarus's father Daedalus, who told Icarus to stay away from the sun. Icarus didn't listen and flew too close. The wax melted and Icarus plummeted to his demise. The moral of the story representing the fault in ambition. By shooting too high, it's possible for you to fail big. And with that, we're done with the mythology of Fortnite. If you like this video, you might like my other Greek mythology videos, but a bit of a warning. Those ones are much less family friendly, as I do cover the bad stuff that a lot of the gods did that I left out of this one. So click at your own risk. I'll see you all later, and stay funky.